Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Power of Your Health. Now, I'm your host, Dr. Freeman. On today's episode, we want to talk about a topic that hits home to so many of us, and that is anxiety and addictions. During this pandemic, there has been a rise in many addictions, whether it's food, drug, or alcohol. And we want to help you kind of manage wherever you are. A lot of us have been in quarantine, and it produces a lot of anxiousness and overeating, stressful eating, weight gain, all of those things. And we have an expert here to help you manage that, even from a mental health perspective, as well as a natural wellness standpoint. We want to talk about how all of this matters and what you can do to become healthier and whole again. So welcome back as we continue the conversation with Dr. Rutland. Thanks again for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And, you know, a lot of us are looking at the news, reading newspapers, even during this COVID-19 pandemic, how overeating, I believe, is the big one. People have mentioned to me that their addictions have, increased, whether it's food, drugs, or alcohol. And a lot of us are struggling with that.
All right.
There is a struggle. So can you help our listening audience when it comes to the emotional side of eating and what it does to our health?
So one of the things that it seems like what a lot more people are doing is what's called stress eating. And so what stress eating is you're not really hungry, but you don't have anything to do, or you're thinking about something, and you get the comfort foods. And the comfort foods so happens to be high in sodium as well as high in sugar, which are two bad things for you. You know, very few people have stress eating with broccoli or fruits and vegetables, which wouldn't be so bad. I think the main thing to do is to realize that stress eating is a thing, and kind of when you're going to go for that food, is this something that you really want? Do you really want this? Are you eating because you're hungry, or are you eating just because it's there? And I think one of the biggest things that we had to do with our kids, when the first part of COVID was occurring, we had a talk with our kids. We weren't really just talking about just to eat healthy of it, but what we were concerned about when we were going to the grocery store and we're seeing shelves that's empty. So we're buying all this food, and so we're telling the kids, we don't know if there's going to be food on the shelves in a couple of weeks, so don't just eat everything up right away. Well, at home I have a 12-year-old and well, now she's 14 years old. That didn't go over too well. My wife bought groceries, and 2 days later, almost everything we bought was almost gone because they're out of school, they're eating all day. So what we started doing was, we started taking some of that food, taking it out of eyesight, not really hiding it from the kids, but taking it from the kitchen and putting it more in the basement and saying, this is going to be for later if, so we don't have to keep going back to the grocery store, because we were trying to shelter in place like everybody else around the country. But what we started putting to the front is started putting grapes out. My wife was putting grapes out. She put carrots out and oranges. And, even though the kids are big enough, it was a big difference. They wouldn't use the oranges if they weren't cut. They enjoyed it.
Fresh fruit.
Yeah, they enjoyed it. Yeah, but my wife had to treat them like little kids and cut the orange up. Then they would eat it. Yeah. But if the orange was over there, they didn't feel like it was too much work.
It's too much.
So they're lazy. So so we had to talk about being lazy.
Even for myself, I was determined, because a lot of us, it created a sudden shift.
Yes.
That we weren't quite ready for this shift. And under 24-hour notice, we were like, you have to stay home. Like, what? Are you for real? Even for me, I had to change a whole lot of things. I couldn't go to the gym. Right. So I would always buy my juices. I know I got lazy. So now I had to dust off my juicer. I had to dice up my ginger and put it in the juice, slice an apple. I said, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So you have to force yourself to say, I'm going to eat well.
Right.
And it's a mental thing. I believe it starts in your mind.
It is.
You have to really prepare to think about, what am I going to eat for today?
Right.
Right?
Meal
because
prepping.
when you don't think of that, it's easy to be in the drive-thru line at,
Yes.
wherever you eat.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, meal prepping.
Yeah,
You have to. So I sliced all my apples. I put my ginger in a bag. I put my carrots in the bag, cucumbers, and it's ready.
Right.
So I could go zip, zip, zip,
Right.
and I'm good. I'm like, yay!
And one thing I noticed, like at the gym, the people who are really healthy, really into fitness and into their bodies, is they always all of them meal prep. Because I was just,
Yes.
I remember for the longest, I was just like,
It's true.
I do it. And my trainer tells me, he said, you don't have a problem with the gym. You would do whatever I tell you to do. You lift a amount of weight. You do whatever. Your problem is when you leave the gym. I wasn't eating the right foods, and a lot of people who are really into it, they will spend either the night before or Sunday, in meal prep for the week. So you have you can look at your diet
Yes.
for the week. When I did meal prepping for a while, and it's just, it's laborious, but it actually works.
Yes.
One of the things, like, you have to get a scale. Your meat can only be 4 ounces.
yeah.
Yeah, 4 ounces per meal.
Per meal.
Yeah, and then
You have to have the containner.
Yes, and you have to weigh your food.
Oh, yes.
But after
You can pay somebody to do it.
after you get used to it,
Yeah.
and it becomes part of your life,
Yeah.
then it's not so bad.
Yeah.
Right. It's just because this is what I do.
Yeah.
I couldn't meal prep for the week because I never know what I'm going to want to eat Tuesday, but I got to the point where I was meal prepping the night before.
Yes.
And then so I knew what I was going to eat the next day, had my protein bars and things like that. And I got to tell you, I mean,
It worked? Did it? You
it
saw
worked.
results. You lost the
I was seeing the
weight.
results. I was doing
Seeing the
good.
results.
COVID happened, and I got lazy.
And you got lazy.
But I'm getting back into it, though.
We all are.
I'm getting back into it.
Getting back into it because it's just one of those things.
Right, right.
You mentioned something very important, and if you're listening, stick to it. Even if you fall off, we can always restart again.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Just restart again. Say, I know I messed up. It's in the past. I'm going to move forward with this meal plan. And don't get so stressed out about it, but make sure it's realistic steps that you can achieve. Whatever you're going to do, you're going to get rid of the sugar. That's great. I still struggle with that. I don't care if it's still the healthy organic stuff. It still has sugar in it, right?
Yes.
And you wind up eating a whole roll because, these are healthy cookies.
My
I
problem,
did that yesterday.
My problem
I
is
ate
I have
about
a
like
sweet tooth.
6 of them, huh?
I say my problem is I have a bad sweet tooth.
Oh,
and
my
in the same
goodness.
way.
It's a drug.
It is.
Yeah, it's an addiction.
We talked about it 2
Sugar
episodes
is
ago. Yeah.
It is so like, I don't know if it's more, what is your brain saying? Can you help us with what is the connection with the gut and our brain saying that we need sugar? Is that evidence?
I don't know about the connection necessarily with the gut. I know it's by taking in sugar, it's certain hormones that's released, and that's back to physiology, which is back med school. I can't remember.
40 years ago.
I can't remember it, but I did get a B on the test. So
it's gonna be on the test if you mean I think it's serotonin. I don't know.
But
might not be the answer.
You get that feedback, and what is
mood.
You get hyper, and then you get that sugar crash when you just get sluggish, and then you don't want to do anything, and then as you're not doing anything, all that sugar turns into fat, and it's stored as fatty acids in the men in the gut, women on the hips, and it's just leads to a downward spiral.
And it could lead to so many diseases as
Yes.
well, right? It
definitely.
manifests into even with diabetes.
Definitely.
Is it true if you eat a lot of sugar, can you become a diabetic?
Well, the actual sugar does not cause the diabetes.
It does not cause diabetes.
It does not. What causes the diabetes is as you eat the sugar, you're not exercising, and you become morbidly obese. Now, diabetes it's just not because of the obesity. Genetics plays a big factor in diabetes. But I know I grew up listening like the older people like, you eat all that sugar, you're gonna be a diabetic. A lot of people think that. But it's usually the sugar, it's genetics first, and then it's the sugar that leads to the overweight, the morbid obesity that leads to the diabetes and cancer that's caused by just poor nutrition.
And poor nutrition. Amazing. So when you're doing surgery, when you make that incision, if you're doing abdominal, can you tell the health of a person? Like just looking at the intestines, and when you're in there with your gloves and it's all bloody and stuff, like, ooh, this is so beautiful.
Well,
you can see a difference, like even with the lung health.
When you look at it, you can't really. To me, I just can't see.
Okay.
But it's more during the wound healing phase. So when you're through with surgery, it's the wound healing phase that you can tell. Or sometimes it's going to be a problem with wound healing. I remember I had a patient who her abdominal wall before we actually got into the belly was probably the size from my finger to here. So that's just all fat tissue.
And so that creates the bulge there.
So that's part of the big bulge. But what going in is fat doesn't have the best blood supply, so fat doesn't heal as well as other tissue. Mm-hmm. So what ends up happening is I know that this lady this is her abdominal wall. When most people abdominal wall is about that thick. So from here to the inside is usually about that thick. So this lady was this thick. I knew that she was going to have complications from wound care. And I was right. Her wound didn't heal right and just led to other couple of things. And she just wasn't an active person anyway. And so it took long to get her gut back to working. So exercise, diet, it's you put in the work, it would take care of you.
Yes, even with the anxiety. If you visit our website at thepowerofyourhealth.com, we have food listed there. Some of the foods that are really helpful for you. If you're listening, ginger, elderberries, just to mention a few, the chia seeds, all of those things you can do to reduce your anxiety, to make you more calm and peaceful, because that makes a big difference. I can even tell I have low blood pressure, so I drink coffee sometimes just to get it back up. My blood pressure really is like 70 over 50.
You're like my wife.
So low. I'm like, I need to get in here and get something.
Yeah.
And it just works, right? Because of the caffeine.
Right.
Like your wife.
A stimulant. It's a stimulant.
It's true, and all this thing, because that shows you that there is a correlation with the foods we eat and our mood.
Yes.
And it's been proven. And Dr. Rutland has just discussed with us that it is certainly proven. Stay healthy. Any kind of foods from the root, any kind of the berries, those are very, very important. Just stay alkaline. Try to improve your immune system from that standpoint, and you will see a difference. And water. We didn't even really mention water. Right. Even when you're anxious sometimes, maybe your brain is telling you that you need more water or sleep.
Sleep
a lot
is
of
big.
this, even in this pandemic, we are not resting well because we're anxious, and I get it. Sleep is so important.
Right.
Right?
Yeah,
we don't talk about rest. A lot of us are not used to just resting. We think, oh my gosh, I'm not doing anything with my time.
Yeah,
we need sleep. Can you speak on that?
Resting is very important.
Yes.
When you talk to most people,
when
you talk to most doctors that deal with sleep medicine, one of the things they'll tell you is that sleep is very important. To the point where you should be able to naturally wake up. My grandmother used to wake up at 6 o'clock every morning, and she used to go to bed every night at 9:30. Never had an alarm clock, knew what time she was going to wake up. And for me, I always needed an alarm clock. But what you come to find out is if you need an alarm clock, you're probably not getting enough sleep. You should have a sleep routine you get up, you go to sleep, your body wakes up every day naturally, and that's when you're the appropriate amount of sleep. Some people, I think the literature used to show that it was 8 hours. It was 8 hours of sleep, but now the literature is showing, from the last time I looked at it, is now showing that it's not necessarily 8 hours. It's different. Hours. It's different. Your sleep requirements and mine are different. But the way you're meeting your sleep requirements if you wake up naturally instead of having to require an alarm clock and hit snooze like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, because your body's like, I need sleep.
I need more.
Wow.
I need more.
That is so true.
Yes.
Take home message, sleep so important, your food is important. which overall affects your gut health and mood.
Exactly.
Also, if you're interested in more one-on-one sessions, we will love to book a private session with you. We have experts that are on hand and willing to have those sessions. If you visit the website at thepowerofyourhealth.com. Thank you, Dr. Rutland, so
Welcome.
much. Thank you, listening audience. We hope that you will continue to stay well and healthy and let your food be your medicine. Stay tuned for our next episode.